easiest thing I've ever heard of, which is to buy a 78,000 square foot high school in a little town called Florence, where there's no economy and there's not enough businesses here. But we've got all these volunteers working on these projects who are really committed to helping to grow the local economy and grow the businesses. And we even have people who have made enough money, they don't really care about growing a business for themselves. They want to grow a business to make an opportunity for someone else, right? And actually some very inspiring stories about that, where they really did not want to hire any people, but they saw some people that they knew were not going to have a job that matched their skill set unless they grew their business, and they would create an opportunity for that person to step in. So I wanted to read you just mainly as filler while we're waiting for Mark. But I had this great job opportunity and great pay and kind of a once in a lifetime thing. And I said, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to say no. I have this crazy project going on. I explained to him the project, and he didn't reply back to me for like 2 weeks. And I thought, oh, great. I, burned a bridge, right? So I sent him a note and I said, hey, I really hope I didn't burn a bridge. This is like a genuine thing. It's like a once in a lifetime thing. Anyway, he sent me this email back, and I'm going to try to read it without getting too choked up. But he said, Brad, don't give it a second thought on the bridge burning, no issue. Okay, so this is a guy originally from Ireland, and now he's in Boston. He's general manager of this tech company. He said, that's an ambitious and interesting project for sure. I'll tell you an anecdotal tale that might be encouraging, although to an American ear may sound somewhat like communism. Hopefully the moral of the story comes through. When I was in college in Ireland in the mid to late 80s, the number one company to get hired for was DEC. So everybody went to college to become an engineer. That was the only thing to do there. And you went to work for DEC, big European tech company. He said they had a facility in Galway and another one near my hometown where they employed hundreds of people in well-paying jobs. I graduated in 1988, and within 2 years, DEC was gone. And at that time, people wrote basically obituaries for those towns. They said these towns will just disappear. There's no economy that's going to come in and replace those jobs, right? He said basically all of Europe was convinced that this whole section of Ireland would simply die as a result of unemployment. And he said you have to appreciate that unemployment in Ireland at the time was around 10%. So it was already pretty dramatic. Ireland's government at the time had already made the investment of massively subsidizing college education, Communism Part 1. So there was a young, highly educated and cheap labor force. When DEC closed, the government stepped in and bought the facility in Galway, Communist Part 2, and offered all the DEC employees a deal. If you invest your severance in starting a new business, the government would match those funds, not a loan, and give you free space in an old building, which they had divided up into essentially incubator-sized offices. The result was an entrepreneurial boom, the likes of which had never happened in the country, and was one of the catalysts of what became known as the Celtic Tiger, a massive resurgence of the Irish economy in the late 90s and early 2000s. There were many successful businesses launched from that humble beginning, and the confidence of the nation grew. Dell moved part of their operations out to Ireland, Dell Computer, right? The confidence of the nation grew that at last Ireland could have indigenous industries that were leaders in technology and science. And then he closes with, I hope this is the start of something similar for you and your community. So I hope so too, right? We have a lot of people who are successful. They could really live anywhere. They want to live in communities like this and help to use their success to create the success of the next generation, right? They want to build the kind of community that they want to be living in 10 to 15 years from now. A lot of them are the kind of people who, getting your next Ferrari is not as rewarding as helping your neighbor send their kid to school or helping another neighbor put a roof on their house, right? And we know that economic empowerment is one of the most powerful things to fix demographic inequalities in our communities, right? If you want to see more women on the city council, the women that you see on the city council have their own businesses. It's that economic empowerment that's allowed them to step up into places of leadership in the community, right? So how do we use our success and our influence to grow the community in a positive way. And that's why we have a bunch of volunteers here tonight and a bunch of people online and a bunch of people that will be participating over the next 4 weeks to help share in the same kind of vision. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. Now, 2 years later, this guy Richard just called me back and that job is opening back up again. So we'll see. But I thought that was a pretty amazing email to get from somebody, right, who has seen that happen to transform a country, right? 20% of the population of the US lives in rural communities like this. They're smart people. There's a lot of resources here, and technology like the cloud and broadband enables us to work from here. And now with the pandemic, if there's any good side to the pandemic, it has removed the stigma about working remote, and it's actually kind of started a cool trend. Like, how do we get more people working remote? How do we start more remote businesses, right? So our goal as volunteers and community supporters is to work together to help each other, right? You know, maybe you won't start a new business tomorrow, but maybe you'll start one in a year, or maybe you'll grow your business and be able to hire somebody who wouldn't have had an opportunity unless they left to go to Colorado Springs. So that's why we're here tonight. Thank you.
There it is. Thank you. Brad is one of the people why this is happening tonight. The other one is Mark Maddock, who should be coming in the door anytime. Mark is with the company, well, he's with Pueblo Community College, but he's also with something called SCIL, which is Southern Colorado Innovation Link. And he heads that up. So there's several counties that are involved with that, including Fremont County. And the other one is Sage over here, who is in the background just doing all kinds of stuff that make things happen. So we appreciate what Sage is doing, and he allows for people to come online. He puts the cameras up, all those pieces as well. My name is Phil, and I've been in the community about 4 years. And just real quickly on my background, and then we're going to jump right in because my viewpoint is this needs to be highly participatory. So expect that you're going to participate tonight. And one of the things, first of all, will be to introduce yourself and what you're up to in life. And so that's coming down the pike here in just a few moments. So my background, I've got a business degree, I've got a law degree, and I've practiced law a little bit, but that wasn't my career. My career was leading things and creating businesses, and I've been involved with a lot of real estate efforts in the past as well. I've led tech companies, I've worked for tech companies, but I've also taught as an adjunct professor, and my area of expertise was entrepreneurship. And so I taught a lot of entrepreneurship. I taught business law. I taught strategic management, a bunch of things like that for universities and colleges in Michigan. And I did that for 7 or 8 years. And I enjoyed it very much. It was typically non-traditional students, so age and range from 22 to 55. But I did do a capstone class for a college for the traditional students, and again enjoyed that very much too. So it was fun times, and I'm glad to have the opportunity back here. My big effort in Fremont County right at the moment is the Scholastica project. So if you're familiar with Scholastica, it was an old Catholic girls' school, old meaning it was 110 years that it was going on, and they closed in 2003. So we've got a vision for that campus to change things around, worked it through the city council and the planning commission, and we're making progress over there. So Brad and I are have become personal friends as well, and we have some business interests that we are constantly kicking around. So this is a passion of mine. It is something that I am geeked about, because my view of entrepreneurship is not just doing a business. You can do that. You can own a McDonald's, and I call those a business in a box. And a business in a box is somebody gives you, here's the formula. The fries are going to be the same, and everything is going to be the same that you would get in any place on the world. We're going to teach you training, and that is all fine. I'm all for those type of businesses. But entrepreneurship, my definition is the creativity part of it, that you're creating something out of that didn't exist. And so you got an idea in your world that is going to create this thing, and it's going to provide a service or a product that doesn't exist, or you're going to be the best in your world. And when I say your world, it's your world, whatever you define as your world, where you circulate, whether it's a county, a state, a country, the world, or a city. That's your world. And the goal for entrepreneurship is what can we create that is new, unique, needs to be a service here or a product, and we can make it the best in our world, because I think excellence is the other part of that. So I'm going to pass out what we're up to for this boot camp thing, and we'll just allow that to go around the room if I could. So if you want to send that around, and we'll give an overview now of what this is all about, so you're not under any confusion on that. I'll wait for those to get passed around. As soon as I get through this, then the next thing will be introductions. So that's when we'll give a chance to go around the room and introduce each other. And then I've got some other things that we're going to talk about as well. So we did this in March, April of earlier this year. So this is the second time we've done this. And we had approximately 15 people in there. It was on Tuesday night, all of it. We tried to change it up a bit on this one. So we got 3 Tuesday nights, and then we're going to have a Friday session as well. And that'll concentrate it more than what we were doing there, but it works. So we've got, as I mentioned, those classes. And so here tonight is the introduction. And we're going to talk about each of those issues that are listed there. And again, highly participatory. We've got a few handouts, and we've got some discussion that's going to take place. Number 2, which is next Tuesday night, is we believe that the you part of starting a business is just as important as anything else. As far as this is Mark Maddock, and he's the guy from SCIL, so which is Southern Colorado Innovation Link. So he came all the way from Pueblo to join us tonight. Thanks, Mark. So the you part. And so next week, that's what we're going to be focusing on, because a lot of business failures is because somebody isn't the you that needs to be there. So we're going to take a deep dive into you. And one of the things that we're getting compliments of SCIL is something called the Strengths Finder book. And this is put out by the Gallup folks. I've used it lots in my entrepreneurial classes, and I've probably given more than 200 of these. And what you get from this is it tells you out of the 35, I think 36 strengths that they've identified, it tells you your top 5. And so each of you, we unfortunately don't have the books tonight, but when we get them this week, they have a little coupon in the back. And that coupon is got an access code in it. We're going to cut that open, and we're going to send that. So each one of you will have an access code for an online test. And so you're going to hop online. It takes about 35, 40 minutes to take this thing, and you get instant results back. And the instant results look like this. So you'll get a strengths insight guide, and you're also going to get a theme report as far as your skills, your strengths, what can you use them for. So again, I've given this more than 200 times. I've had people take it. I've only had 2 people say, that's not me, and they missed it. The rest said, this is right on, and it's very helpful. So again, next week, when we're going through the you part of this session and talking about that, each of you are going to get that. And next week, we'll give you the book so you can have that. But again, we're going to email you the code so you can take that. And I would encourage you to do it, because we're going to go around the room and you'll get a chance to talk about your strengths. So you'll notice on session 2 that there's a lot of the you thing. And then we're going to slide into marketing. And so we've got some marketing issues we want to deal with next week as well. And then number 3 week, we're going to be talking about change, just what's occurring out there. And then we'll dive into the finance stuff and budgets and basically the economics of this. So if you think about it, you're dealing with marketing as a main issue for entrepreneurship, you're dealing with financial issues, and you're dealing with yourself as a person. So we're kind of hitting all those. Of course, people get MBAs, Master of Business Administration. So we've only got 4 sessions together. And I use the example, I grew up in Michigan, and Michigan, we had something called tip-ups. Anybody know what a tip-up is? So you go out on a frozen lake, and they would have this wooden thing that had a cross on it, and you put a little mini on it, and the mini meaning a small fish, and you'd put it through the ice, and Mr. Big Northern Pike would come along, and he'd grab a hold of that bait, and take off with it running. And how would you know that he's there? Well, there's something called this tip up, and it had a flag on it. And all of a sudden, when he took off running, up went the flag. And that's what we're trying to do with this, is to put a flag in your head. And when you see an issue that's marketing, when you see an issue that is about your own skills or finance or those kind of things, the flag is going to go off, and you know that you need to get some expertise. So as I mentioned, I have a law degree. I can assure you that when legal issues come up, I run to the attorney. I don't rely on my own expertise or background with that. I go and visit with the attorney we have for real estate issues and business issues, and we just met with a Securities and Exchange attorney as well. So the professions that are out there, whether it's marketing or whether it's finance or budgeting, all those kind of people, we want to just make it so that in the next 4 sessions, that flag is ready to tip off and to be there. So the last one is talking it up, and that's on page 2 of this little thing that I sent you. And so we're going to talk about a business plan. And I know some of you are in different areas as far as you got a business that you're working on, or you got an idea, or you don't have any idea. All of those are acceptable in here. But we do want to move forward so that you have the ability to do something called an elevator pitch. And just to define what that is you get on an elevator, and there's a guy or a woman that has money, and you have to be looking for money for your business, and you're going up 10 floors. And so what can you tell them in that time period that you're on that elevator from floor number 1 to floor number 10 as far as a pitch for what your company is? So it's something that you're defining very well. This is what I'm up to. This is what I need. And so all of us should be able to tell very quickly, the elevator pitch, if you will, of what your business is doing. And then we'll also have a plan on 5-minute presentations. So you can come up with make a business or not. I would recommend that you do. But the plan is that on the last session that we'll each do a 5-minute pitch as far as what we're up to. And you can do that with slides and things like that. Except for tonight, we're also going to have a featured speaker. So next week, we've got one lined up. And the following week, we have another one that will be here. And then we've got 2 lined up for the day of that Friday. So each day, we're going to have a featured speaker as well. That is about 20 to 30 minutes. It just talks about their experience, and they've got some expertise. So I can tell you on week number 3, for instance, a fellow named Justin, strong entrepreneur. He's been working with the first crypto bank, cryptocurrency up in Wyoming. Tremendous experience. Going to be good for us to hear that. So we've got people of that caliber, and we've got one of them on that Friday is a person who was in this class, if I can call it a class, workshop last time. And now she has got, at the time she didn't have funding, now they do have funding for their company. And I think what we did here was useful for that as well. So she'll be coming in and talking about her own experience. I know that we've got more people signed up than our board are here. Some of them that couldn't be here tonight. So there are others that have signed up. And I think we do have some online as well that are listening as well. So we got 3 people online. And you folks online, you're going to need to want to have you introduce yourself as well. So be prepared for that. So the next thing that I'm going to be going through is some landmines that we all run into. And we're going to take time for that. And I'm going to present a little bit about what those are. And I'm going to pass this out so you don't have it with you right at the moment. I'll pass it out. We'll go through it. And then I'd like each of us to come up with our top 3 landmines that would be of concern. The things that landmine, of course, they're underground. You can't see them, but you know they're there. And one of the things that causes failure in businesses, failure personally, is that you don't identify what the landmines are. And so we've got a whole list of them, and you can figure out just real quick which ones you think. But before we do that, I'd like us to go around the room and introduce ourselves. So Erica, if you're willing to be their first person to do that, and Brad's got a mic over there, so we're going to have everyone just pass the mic along. And we've got 4, 6, 8, 10 people in the room. And once we get through those 10 people, those of you who are online, we'll come on and get you. So if you'll listen up, we'll get to you in just a minute after everyone else. So Erica, why don't you, what we're looking for is you don't have to spend a lot of time, 60 seconds, 2 minutes max, and just tell what you're up to and why you're here, what you're interested in, just introducing yourself. So
Okay.
thank you, Erica.
Hi, I am Erica Hafferkamp, and I own 2 businesses in downtown Canyon City, Sagenic Web Design and Dare Print and Sign Company. I started Sagenic in 2003, and then I opened Dare next door in January of 2020. And I'm here trying to learn more about how I can grow and expand my newer business and what we can do to do the different, because it's a product-based business as opposed to my first business, which is a service-based business. So that's kind of me.
Hi, my name is Sydney Laurel. I am an artist and also a tailor. I work down at Tailored West. I'm here mostly just to get on my feet and see what running a business might entail as far as being an illustrator.
Hi, I'm Hayden Jackson. I am here because both my parents all have their own business, so I'm just interested in seeing what that's like from the ground up. I heard about this opportunity from Phil, and I was like, wow, this is a class I wish I had in high school. So here I am. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Phil. I'm currently getting 2 associate degrees at PCC. I'm hoping to have them done in a year, thanks to all the classes I took at the high school. It'll be my AGS and my cybersecurity degree, which seems kind of off from a business, but I don't know, I'm trying to indulge and see what's all out there. There's so many things going on right now. An opportunity like this, I couldn't pass it up.
Hello, everyone. I'm Logan Jennings. Me and Hayden, we work with Phil. We work with him at Scholastica, so that's where I heard about this opportunity as well. Reason I'd like to be here is just, learn more about business. It would definitely be a good skill to learn. Sometime in the future, I like electronics and stuff, so I think it'd be cool to open up my own electronics store maybe in the future sometime. That'd be cool. I'm also going to school right now, PCC, getting computer science degree, and yep, that's it.
My name is Alexis Dudley. I currently work for my parents' company here in Canyon City, which is L&J Roofing and Contracting. I also am an owner of my own yard care and fencing company, and I just have some big plans for both of those companies later on down the road, and I'm thankful that Brad invited me tonight.
Hi, my name is Audrey Dudley. I don't have my own business, but I would like one eventually. And I figured this would be a good place to start and figure out what I need to do and kind of what it entails. So yeah.
I'm Mark Maddock, and I'm the manager of Southern Colorado Innovation Link, and it's great to see all the new faces, and thanks for participating in our Accelerator program.
My name is Kevin Mamalji, and I guess I have a lot of things going on. I won't bore everyone with the details, but political consulting is kind of what I do most of the time. I'm also running the engagement coordinator for the Upper Arkansas Tourism and Retail Sector Partnership, just trying to get people back to work through upskilling. But I also have a startup company. It's a quasi tech pet company. It's called QR Pets, very early stages. So just looking to broaden my horizons because, like I said previously, most of my work has been done in the political arena. So a lot different in the private sector, manufacturing things and marketing and all that good stuff. So just looking to expand my knowledge there. So happy to be here.
Hi, my name is Ian Sturgeon. I currently own doubleunderwonder.com. But I'm wanting to start a marketing company. And so I have it on my list of things to do to start the world's best marketing company, but I'm not sure what that looks like. So I'm figuring out what our offerings will be and like who our customer is and what makes us unique and things like that. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping to take out of this. So
Ian, how many jump ropes will you guys ship this year?
I don't know. I'd have to look at stats, but
Your team today said 65,000 when I did a tour. What's the average order price on your website?
Our average order value is $31.
So $31 times 65,000.
I'm not getting that.
Cool. And what was your background? Did you have a particular background that you might want to start a business in? Restaurant. Okay. Did you go to school for that? No. Cool. Awesome. So I'm a high school dropout and did not go to college, and I would not recommend that for anybody. It's just kind of how my life went, but don't ever let any of that stop you. Let's see, I already gave my intro, but just a little bit more. So this business is called Emergent Campus. So we're converting a historic high school building into commercial office space and co-working. So small offices, large offices, or just co-working people who want to drop in and have a place where they can have a desk. During the break, we'll take you through, if you haven't seen it, we'll take you through one of the call center spaces that was built by Lexi and her team last year in the middle of the pandemic. And that space now houses a Army Enterprise Service Desk. So it's tier 1 tech support for, oh, I can't say that, sorry. It's tier 1 tech support for a large government entity. And it also houses the first remote office for a company called PAX 8, which is the largest company or the fastest growing company of any kind in Denver for 2 years in a row. They happen to be a huge tech company, Microsoft Partner of the Year. They now have 1,000 employees, and they're trying to add another 1,800 in the state. And we have their first remote office here also in that space. And they're expanding upstairs, and you're also working on that space up there, right? So if you, especially if you guys with your CIS background would like to see that, both of those companies start with A+ certification as kind of their minimum bar, right? And both have enormous opportunity for growth. And they just started down here, so down the road, a year or two from now, there will be even more opportunity. My day job is marketing consulting for tech companies. I've been a chief marketing officer, vice president of marketing, and now I'm property manager for a large building. So I plunge all the toilets and fix the leaky roofs, and that's me. Thank you.
Very good to each of you. Thank you. Are we able to get the folks online?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Hi, Megan. Why don't you tell us who you are and what you're up to?
Hi, everybody. My name's Megan. I am Mark's counterpart at Southern Colorado Innovation Link. So I'm not a business owner, but I just work with all these guys who are in charge. That's me.
Thank you. And who else we got? Brad, too. Are you there, Brad?
Yeah, this is Brad in California. I'm a system administrator. I'm just here because I'm really curious to learn new things, and I'm Brad's son, so I like knowing what's going on in Canyon and getting all of the information on that too.
Okay, very good. And lastly, Mark, you're in the classroom, so is there anybody else on there? Anybody else? Is that it? Okay, anybody else send us a text or something? Okay, we're assuming that we're good. Okay, so the next part of this is, if you can pass these out. Thank you, Erica. I'm going to need that sheet. And the folks who are online, Sage is looking for that document. So as soon as we have it, we're going to pop that up there. We'll wait just a second as those things work around. So if you talk about businesses, most businesses do not make it. That's just the flat out deal of it. And the average entrepreneur starts 3.8 businesses before they're successful. So if you think about averages, how they work, some are successful on the first one, and they get themselves on the picture of a magazine or something. They're 27 years old, and that happens. That's not typically what happens here, though. The average person that starts a business is typically 45. So if any of you are younger than 45, and I think that's all of you, that's when people start their successful business. And 3.8 businesses is what they start before they're successful. So they've had 3 to 4 business failures. And if you think about averages, that means some people are 6, 7, 8 businesses that they failed at before they were successful as well. So that's just how it is. And so learning a business and starting a business is something I absolutely encourage, and you don't have to hit a home run right up the front to make it work. It's something that you're learning from each time. So I have started businesses myself and have been involved with a lot of them, and have done some consulting. And so I've talked to a lot of people that have started it. And these are some of the landmines that are right up front. And what I'd like you to do as I work my way through this, and I'm going to go fairly quickly, just think about what you're concerned about. What's your biggest concern as far as a landmine that might be out there? Because if we know those are there, we can avoid them. We don't go traipsing across and boom, it goes off. And that visual, of course, is something that's there. So I make a distinction between a macro failure and a micro failure. So a macro failure is it takes your business down. It wipes you out. And some of those things can be from external. COVID got a lot of people last year, and it's still impacting people. So it's something that is a great challenge. But the micro failures are that something happens and it doesn't turn out exactly how it was, but it doesn't take your business out, and you learn from it. And so micro failures can be something that is very good for your business, including some of these landmines that they don't take you out. You learn from them and you get better and better and better. Now, if you have too many micro failures and you don't learn from them, what happens is they become a macro failure, and out goes the business. So micro failure, learn better and better. You get better at things, and you learn better for what the customer is. Micro failure where you don't learn ends up being a macro failure. So lack of knowledge is one of the things, and you're trying to beat that right now by being here. One of you mentioned the restaurant industry. I've had a restaurant for 4 months. That was long enough. I had a strip mall, and one of the clients was one of our customers who leased the space was going bankrupt. And the best way to deal with that situation was to buy the restaurant. So I quickly bought it, hired a manager, and lack of knowledge certainly applies there. But what caused I sold it, and that lady wasn't successful either. And she had 25 years in the restaurant industry. So here's her deal. She was a great cook. She could cook anything she wanted, and so if I'm a great cook, best thing for me, start a restaurant. Wrong, because of lack of knowledge. She didn't understand all the business functions. She didn't understand the marketing functions. She knew what was going on with that grill and how that would work, but the business functions took her out, and she only lasted 9 or 10 months, if I recall, was her time period because of lack of knowledge. And so that's something that we gotta deal with. Another one is lack of time. Businesses take a lot of time, and if you're just expecting 40 hours a week with starting a business, that's probably not going to happen. It's something that takes a lot of time, and so lack of time can take you out as well. Lack of desire or focus, it's something that you just can't start out with and think I'm going to do this part-time and I'm really not dedicated to it. Now you're going to have to be dedicated to it. If you don't have real focus and desire to make it successful, it will not be. Another huge one is undercapitalization. And capital, of course, is the money to make a business work. You got to be able to go through lean times. And I actually had challenges that with myself. Again, we're all disclosing. And one other thing, I'm not the expert in this room. All of us together are experts in this room with our combined knowledge. So I'm expecting that to happen. I just want to get this out here, but I want each of us to talk about that. So undercapitalization would be that when my tenants stopped paying, it was very difficult for me to keep the bills coming and getting those paid as well with 2008 and the Great Recession that we had there. So macroeconomy challenges, we certainly know what those look like with last year and COVID and everything else that was happening. And then you have microeconomy challenges. Microeconomy challenge would be something that happens in Canyon City. So you got a Canyon City business and something happens on that little micro area, and it causes a disruption. So one of the things could be something happens and tourist dollars stop in Canyon City. That would be a severe disruption because our economy has a great deal of dollars coming in from that, but it didn't impact the rest of the country. That's a micro economy challenge. Logistics challenging. We had a run on toilet paper last year, right? And so that was a logistics issue. You couldn't get enough toilet paper in town. Happened all across the country as well. I was just driving to the airport the other day, and was following a truck that happened to be from Canyon City, but I haven't talked to him about it and not going to. But anyway, here come the rock and slammed into my windshield, and it hit hard. It splattered glass on me and my passenger, so you can tell it went hard. And the next day I went and planned on getting my windshield fixed. Who would have known that there's a windshield shortage? And so that I have to wait months before this particular windshield that's on my truck, I can get that in there. And part of it's logistics challenge. There's just challenges with supplies, and it certainly can happen. So that's another challenge that you got to be aware of. Labor shortages, we're experiencing that right now. Kevin is up right now trying to get people into various positions, and I forget how many million jobs are available in the United States. It's a large number, and we're running through a severe labor shortage. And of course, anybody who's in the service industry, including restaurants, knows that that's a challenge. So if you're in business, big problem with labor shortages and some of the things. Supply chain disruption, that's my windshield example. Lack of leadership. Nothing gets done without appropriate leadership. So you can have whatever project you're up to, and if you don't have adequate leadership, it's just not going to work. So I hate to use you as an example, Brad, but the whole Tech Start wouldn't happen without Brad's leadership. He came into town and made a huge difference, got people together, made all the appropriate moves that are necessary to make things happen. That's true with any company, that you absolutely have to analyze, am I the leader? If I'm not, then who is the leader? There has to be adequate leadership for it to work. Wrong hires. So you hire a person, they don't work out, you keep that person, and your business struggles as a result of it. And so that's another one that's out there. Team conflict. I've seen this a lot. One of the things with going through the Strength Finder thing is with the team conflict of figuring out what your strengths are, what their strengths are. If you have two people with the same strengths and it's a small company, you're probably overstacked in a certain area. There's lots of different skills that are needed to be successful with a business, and you need that. And just the whole emotional thing. If you look up at the top of the next column over, I'll flip up there right now, which is partnership conflict. I have created lots of limited liability companies, and you have a defining document for that, the operating agreement. And that operating agreement is 20% about what happens if things go right. The other 80% of an operating agreement is about what happens if things go wrong in a business. And a lot of that has to do with partnership conflict. So I came from Grand Rapids, Michigan, and we had people that started Amway there. They're all billionaires. If you're familiar with Amway, if you haven't got the pitch, someday somebody will give you the pitch. But these are good guys, and they have been involved with lots of other businesses. And they had 3 or 4 business failures prior to starting the successful one that they had. That is amazing that they did that. Because usually when a business fails and you've got partners in it, they tend to go their own way. They kind of blame each other. That partnership conflict is a problem. They only had one time that they bought themselves a restaurant at the top of the highest building in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And one wanted it to be formal and people would come in with ties on. The other wanted it to be casual. And it so disrupted their partnership that they had to hire a mediator to put an office in between them. One was the chairman of the board and the other one was the president. So there's all kinds of businesses where partnership conflict or team conflict can take you out. And it's something that you got to pay attention to. It doesn't matter what size of the business. If a husband and wife are in a business together and they start having marital conflict, chances are it's going to feed into the business. And so again, this is a huge one, and I stress it that it's a problem. Divorce. one person that I worked with in the past, he had 23 businesses. He was just constantly just creating businesses all the time, and they were mostly successful. And then he got himself into a divorce, and every one of those came to a screeching halt because he, first of all, didn't do proper planning, but the other one is this is just a difficult thing on the business. And so for 2 years, those businesses basically went mothballed because of that was taking place. So that's just another business risk and a business landmine. And so when you have a partnership with someone and they've got challenges with their spouse, that's something to be aware of, that it can happen, because he had partnerships and it locked up the other people as well, not just himself. So we live in that kind of society, and it's just something to be watching out for. The other one is trying to do it all. As an entrepreneur, tell you a secret. If you want to sell your business, you cannot be the focus in that business. And I might just talk about this over here, if you don't mind. I'm sorry, I'm stepping off the screen for those who are there. But entrepreneurs have this challenge of putting themselves in the business, right in the middle of the business. And lots of people do that. And you're not creating value at that point, because when somebody wants to buy your business, if you're in the middle, they don't want you there if they're going to buy the business, and the value becomes a lot less. So I've always viewed it that you're creating this car or this building, and what you want to do, it's created outside of yourself, and somebody can buy that business and you hand the keys to them, and now they have access now to that automobile, they have access to that building, they have access to your business. But if you are the center or the vortex of your business, that's going to be a problem for doing that. So that is a weakness that entrepreneurs have, is trying to do it all yourself, no delegation, and it's a mistake that people do. At that point, you're basically self-employed and you don't have a business per se. You have created yourself a job. And there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you realize that's what it is I've created myself a job, then that's okay. It's a matter of what your goals are. But if you're truly trying to create a business that you can sell someday, you want to make sure you get leadership and all those other issues outside of yourself. Minors become majors. That one is just simply you don't deal with the minor issues that arise, and before long they become major issues. Burnout's a huge issue with the entrepreneurs. You got to have a balanced life, or that's going to be a challenge that is rather significant, and people burn out. And certainly with COVID and what was happening there, there was lots of burnout, and some people across the country took their own lives because the stress of what was happening and the cash flow dried up. And so this is a real risk factor for businesses. You got to make sure that that doesn't happen to you if you start your own business. Environmental issues. So here's another one that can happen. You buy a building and it used to be used for dry cleaning in the past, and so there's chemicals on the ground that you didn't know that was there, and that impacts you. And so there's lots of different environmental issues that can happen. Customer disruption, again, COVID is the obvious example there. Everyone got locked down. They couldn't come to your restaurant and sit inside your restaurant. They went riding your whitewater rafting boats. They were just not there. And that customer disruption, again, caused lots of people to have problems with business. Human things like prejudice. Somebody doesn't like whatever category that you are. They don't like tattoos. I'll use that one. And you've got tattoos on, and so that prejudice is a problem. I love tattoos. I don't have any, but I love your tattoos. I have a problem with bald people. That's my real challenge. Yeah, you're covered on both of those. So, but again, people have prejudices, and that can be a real challenge for business, and vice versa. If you're in business and you have prejudice towards other people, that's a challenge as well. So it's something that, again, the human factor is there. Government regulations, the government, it's okay to do one thing one day and the next day it's not. And those regulations can be a real challenge for you. Unexpected events, COVID, earthquake, sickness, death, fire, each of those are things that do happen. If you're in New Orleans, a week and a half ago or 2 weeks, here comes a hurricane through and just blasts you. The other one is sickness and death. People that I know and care about they get sick and something happens. And so you got to have proper documents in place to deal with that. Again, that's that operating agreement for an LLC is what happens if somebody gets sick and dies? What happens to the company? Does it automatically stop? And it's not just people in the company, it's people who work there. And that's all huge issues that it's appropriate to look at. So changing markets, you can go through all throughout this country, and there's places that were thriving and they put the freeway in about a mile or two outside of town, and all of a sudden now people don't stop and away they go. And so the hotels that had lots of people is gone, and the train that used to go through town, all of a sudden now it's being handled by truckers, and there's new technology that disrupts it, changing demographics. There's all those kind of things that are something that definitely impacts a business, and you got to pay attention to. You get sued and you didn't have proper insurance. Crime takes place. If you were downtown Denver last summer, lots of windows broken, and crime was rampant for a few times on there. We live in the tech age with social media, and you get bad reviews online, and that's a challenge. And or competition, that somebody builds a better mousetrap than what you did, and so you got to pay attention to that. Personal challenges, you get involved with drug abuse, or you have mental health challenges that are out there. Lack of definition of the product or service, that's something that we're going to make sure that we deal with here, that we have a good definition of what our product is, what our service is. Bad judgment. That's why, again, lack of knowledge. It's bad judgment is find your friends, find your mentors, and let them help you through, because we all have bad judgments in whatever it is. Political instability, we're experiencing some of that at this point, and certainly an example like Afghanistan. Political instability changes the whole environment for your business. Fraud takes place, time to market. You didn't protect your intellectual property, and there's ways of doing that. Lack of confidence in your business, no succession planning. There's lots of older people that didn't plan for giving it to their kids or whoever else was going to get the company. Does anybody know what a black swan is? What's a black swan event? So one guy wrote a book about that called Black Swans, and he was a business prof, I think out of MIT or something, one of those Eastern schools. His point is almost all swans are white. But every once in a while, there's a black swan, and you didn't see it coming. And so I've got a long list here, but there are things that you just don't see coming. It's a black swan. You could call COVID to some degree a black swan. We didn't expect that in 2020, that something would happen in China and Wuhan, and all of a sudden it's here. And so that black swan is something you at least got to consider, that what is out there, or if something happens that I'm not expecting, what then? So cultural and language barriers, that's something that's significant. Once in a while I do some international travel, like to do it. And I go to one country, Ukraine, and they look like us, but their culture is just very, very different. Very different than what we have, and you just got to be aware. And of course, we have microcultures all over the place, and so language barriers, again, a challenge. A war could happen, and maybe not here in the United States, we think, but it's possible. Financial illiteracy, you don't know what how to balance books, you don't know how to budget, you don't know how to do a lot of the financial stuff. Bad marketing, we've got Brad in here who can help us with that as far as the marketing stuff. And lastly, cash flow disruption. That's what took me out with one of the things I was doing in 2008. The cash flow got disrupted. You don't do tax planning. Negative belief system. You can't do this, or you hire employees who can't do this. Climate impact. We're dealing with that perhaps with some of the stuff. You created a product before your time. Lack of adaptation to change, and poor marketing, which is again something different than bad marketing. There's bad marketing, and then there's poor marketing, and there's a little bit of a distinction. So those are, it's that tip up that I was telling you about. There's a list of stuff that can cause people to fail. And as I mentioned, the reason we talk about failure is because we want to define what success looks like. And so we're going to be talking about success tonight in great detail as well. But I wanted to lay out those landmines. And so each of you have that list. And I'm wondering if we could just take 2, 3, 4 minutes, and you circle the top 3 that you think would be something you are concerned about. And then we're just going to go around the room, and you can lay out your list, and you can tell a little bit why you might be concerned about that particular landmine in dealing with your business, because they're out there. We all have to deal with them. What is it that would be the biggest concern that you might have? Any thoughts about that? Questions? Okay, let's take 3 or 4 minutes. Brad? Right. Oh, very good. And that wasn't planned to come out quite like that, but I appreciate that. Again, we're going to focus on success a lot tonight too. So take 3 or 4 minutes. Circle 3. We'll come around. If the folks online, if we're expecting you would do that too. So I think the list is online. So just be aware that we are going to take breaks because we got a 3-hour period of time. So I'm going to do that right around 7:20 to 7:30. So that just figure that out. And it sounds like Brad is willing to give a bit of a tour there too. So the men's room on this building are down that way. The ladies' rooms are right around the corner. And I think that's where Brad is going to be taking people as well. So 20 minutes, we'll take a break. So Brad, if you're ready to roll, what 3 are things that might be landmines that you might be concerned about with your business?
Well, I can tell you since last year, so COVID was a black swan event. When we bought the building, it was already a pretty big stretch to buy a building in a small town that didn't have a strong economy. But we thought we had 3 business partners with a ton of experience. So it's a stretch, but that's what we do as entrepreneurs. And then COVID happened and we had a certain amount of money set aside in the bank to start renovations. And basically every month we spent about $13,000 in utility bills with no income coming in, right? So I guess I could have planned for a 100-year COVID event, but we didn't have that in our plans. So basically that took every day the team would come in and we'd sit down and kind of work on what do we do, right? Like what can we do? And it really tested our friendship and our partnership in some really challenging ways because each of us had separate businesses and separate day jobs. Those were all impacted by COVID. And then when we came in, we really didn't. Last person I wanted to see was my good friend and business partner and deal with this 80,000 square foot building that we got. So I'm not sure how we could have done that differently, right? But I guess the result is probably the worst thing that could have happened is 100-year pandemic, and we made it through it based on networking and working together and coming up with a plan and continuing to go back to that plan. So I guess that's how we handle that. I have a problem with delegating. I do not delegate very well. And then I have a problem with balance. I don't see the category in here, but I can either get too focused on the details or too focused on the big picture. And I actually have to schedule time in my week to do both, right? And like Ian just started doing weekly mastermind session for the businesses here that want to participate. So scheduling those things in for myself where I have something on the calendar, I have to stop and go work with somebody who I know is a smart entrepreneur, help me put my mind back on the big picture focus, or help me solve a problem that I'm stuck with. So those are mine. Thanks.
Ian.
I just can't see any of this applying to me at all. No. So this is going to be hard to admit in front of everyone, but the older I get, the less energy I have. And so like, I think back to my early entrepreneurial days where I'm like, I just spent 18 hours on getting on learning the skill, that with 4 kids and a wife and not as much energy, that sometimes might be tricky to do. So I'm just, seeing that and seeing the coming business that I'm wanting to start and just wondering if I have the energy and time for all of that. And then I think wrong hires, I am the type of person that wants to give everybody a shot. And wants to see the best and bring people up. And sometimes that's really hard because, and in some ways it's kind of not a loving thing to do because you set them up for failure sometimes if you don't think through things properly. Right. So that can be hard. And then the business I'm wanting to start will have, I'm going to be delegating a lot of things. I'll be doing a lot of the work, but also filling the holes with that I'm, stuff that I'm not good at in the marketing space, with people that I've come across that are just total pros. Right. So I will be delegating a lot of things. So with that, I have to make sure that I set expectations and timelines and stuff. So, in somebody else's mind, a week may be like, wow, I did that really fast. In my mind, I'm like, it's been 13 hours. Where is it? So I think that'll be really important for me to just make sure that I set expectations at the forefront. And honestly, with Double Under Wonder, one of the things that we offer is flexibility almost to a fault, where we want people to be able to fit it into their schedules and stuff. But then sometimes we're like, it's Black Friday and you're like, where is everybody? So, but that's my fault because I didn't set it up on the front end. Right. So wrong hires or just, making sure that the hires I do have know what to expect and I know what to expect from them. And then I marked changing markets. This is kind of, it's maybe not the right marking, and maybe I should have marked something else that would have been a better fit for this, but just product market fit, I'm not sure I'm quite there yet. I'm not sure there's a market for everything that I want to offer. I know there used to be for some of it, but I don't know if that's still there, and vice versa. I think there's a market for some of the new things I want to try doing, but I may be ahead of the curve there too. So, so there's some question marks there. So, yeah.
Yeah, so kind of all over the board for me, to be honest with you, just looking at, so first and foremost, burnout. I just feel like at this point in time with what I have on my plate, I just can't squeeze in another. And it's as far as a new project, and it's a matter of, discipline and making sure that I maintain that drive, right, to continue the project. But that's going to be a difficult one for me, the burnout, because I feel like not necessarily launching the business and following through, but there's going to be burnout in other areas of my life, right? That I may not necessarily be burned out with the idea or creating and, doing all that good stuff. It's just being exhausted. So, and a lot of people shaking their heads. So I guess burnout's a common one. Government regulation. So, talking to Brad just in general about data collection with, for example, the job board that we launched through FEDC and the Upper Arkansas project. We want to steer clear of collecting data because that changes the game in a lot of ways. And so for my company, QR Pets, there is some of that data collection piece. So the tighter those regulations or the more they evolve, and I guess there could be a lot of uncertainty with privacy and how that's held. So that's kind of a concern of mine, I would say. And then cash flow, this goes back to kind of like the burnout. So being an entrepreneur and working to launch a startup, like literally every extra penny that I have through my consulting, it goes into my small business. And so like something comes up, home repair, vehicle, anything like that, that's in my opinion going to be a cash flow disruption, right? And so just being a one-man show, I guess, is kind of at the root of what I'm seeing, right? That kind of exhausts me in many ways. So yeah.
I started making my own on here. So I definitely have problems delegating. And fortunately, Megan, who's on the Zoom call right now, has been working with me just long enough now to know that sometimes she just has to tell me that she's going to do something, even if I haven't looked at it, because I have way too many things to look at that I told her I was going to do multiple days earlier. So the delegating one, I get some help with. The other thing is, I think being held up with too many projects or information sources, and you don't develop solutions as soon as you should. And so sometimes we, for our program with SCIL, are so busy chasing other funding streams to continue building the program that we're not looking at what's actually right in front of us. And then the other one I put on here was for the no succession planning, because if our funding runs out, we're back to square one with starting over if there's no succession where we can keep some version of all of this going.
So for me, when I have my own restaurant, I could definitely see some of these being major issues. And I think the biggest one would probably be lack of knowledge, just because I know how a restaurant works. I've done almost every position in a restaurant, but I have no idea how to own a business or be a business owner. So I would need to, gain knowledge on that. And then wrong hires, definitely. I've seen a lot in restaurants where the owners and managers, they really just want bodies to fill the position. They don't care who it is, and that can really run your business into the ground, especially in a restaurant. Competition also for a restaurant, I think, could be an issue. There's a lot of small diners here in Canyon and Florence. And then trying to do it all. I am not good at delegating. I never have been. I'm the oldest sibling out of 6, and I always do everything. So yeah.
I feel like I need to share I'm the second oldest out of 6. So my top 3 in my career, I'm kind of looking at them as in my current careers, because I have no idea where life is actually going to take me. If you would have asked me almost 2 years ago now where I would have been, this is not where I would have said. I'd probably be in some college somewhere taking a business course. For why? No idea. So my first one is cash flow disruption, because of course in a business you need cash flow. It is a main necessity, and without it, what's your business, right? Next one is lack of knowledge. My entire life, which is also kind of a reason why I'm here tonight, is because personally I think knowledge is one of the most valuable things in this world. You have to know what you're doing. And in my career field, I am a girl in construction. Okay, so think of it from that perspective. Is every day I work around men, and no offense to any of the guys in the room, but most of the time girls don't necessarily know what they're talking about when it comes to construction. So knowledge, and not just in construction, but in everything, I just think is one of the key points in life. Next is customer disruption. In my career, if I don't have customers, I don't have a job. So COVID My job is also very seasonal. When winter comes, we usually do slow down. We specialize in roofs. So of course, you can't lay shingles if it's under 40 degrees outside. And in Colorado, there's a lot of days like that. So customer disruption is also a really big one. Yeah, and weather is definitely a huge. I mean, we are looking at that weather app every day, sometimes hourly, because we all know how Colorado weather is. One day in the morning, it can say we're sunny, 90 degrees all day. And then like today, and then a shower comes this afternoon when I could have a roof completely torn open somebody's home, but yeah.
So I picked two that I think could pertain to me when I have a business sometime. And then I just picked one that I think is actually really important for just anyone who might have a business. So lack of knowledge, obviously you got to have knowledge in what you're doing. If you're wanting to start the business, I'm sure you would have knowledge about what you're doing. But if you don't have the information in your head already about the steps to take in order to open up that business, you're not going to be very successful. And I feel like the lack of knowledge could actually pertain to almost every just category on this page, just because, I mean, you gotta know how to plan ahead, what to do if black swans come, things like that. And then burnout, I definitely feel like I could burn out if I had a business. Sometimes, you stick to one idea and it just doesn't work out. So then you're just thinking, what do I do? I don't think I want to do this anymore. Especially maybe if you just blow all your money right there, making the business. And then I picked, for just anyone, just in general, the lack of adaptation to change, because human life is all about change. Change is happening all the time. And if we can't adapt to change, then you're not going to be very successful in anything that you do in your life. So.
Okay, I chose all three of mine based off of some sort of experience I've had with them. So I will keep the trend going and say lack of knowledge, because I feel like that's all we really have to say, because it can almost cover everything on this list, whether it be that black swan that you couldn't prepare for or a labor shortage. Well, that you have to be prepared to know how to let people go and so forth. But I believe lack of knowledge is knowledge is the key, because if you have the mindset to grow and get better, your business can only grow and get better with you. And then I did the delegation. So both my parents have their own businesses, and I saw the good and the bad from this, and I know how stressful it can be. So I've actually, like my whole life, I feel like that's something I emphasize personally, as I want to be able to delegate things, because I feel like a true leader is someone who can delegate people to their tasks and what they're strong in to lead the business or whatever you're doing in its own sort of way. So you're not there for every single little thing, because I don't feel like that's the best way to be successful. You always want to have fail safes and so forth. And then my last one, again, pertains to knowledge, is financial literacy or taxes. I feel like there's so many pitfalls to this that people can't be prepared for with lack of knowledge, that they get stuck in, and it's a rabbit hole and you can't recover from it. So, and many people fail to see the big picture. They go in, they have their loan, they buy their business, and then all the taxes come and they're not prepared for, and all the little charges and the expenses. And I feel like that's just something that if you're not prepared for, it can be the end of everything that you work so hard for.
Let's see. I chose lack of focus, because me as an individual trying to make art can get pretty hard to focus as far as, I don't know, trying to make money making something. So and being stretched too thin, which leads to burnout, as well as competition, because there's social media and you just see everyone's beautiful artwork online. You're like, wow, they got it going on. And so it's difficult. Yeah, those would be the ones I chose.
So, in my personal business, I am a graphic designer that works with a lot of wholesale printers. And I picked for mine as my biggest threat right now is supply chain disruption and being able to deliver the products to my clients on time in a very timely manner because I'm depending on different printers that work with me and their schedules to make sure that it's delivered, but they're working with labor shortages and supply chain shortages and disruption of things. And so it all falls downhill. My second biggest um, I guess, challenge right now is the fact that I am working in two businesses and I'm the creative director for both of them. And trying to do it all with both it's easier with one than the other because I have employees and a staff with one, but the other one I just recently started. So it's just me and some freelance workers that work from home. And then having all of that tie into a lack of knowledge and financial literacy of trying to figure out how to hire regular employees instead of just independent subcontractors. So that would be my personal three biggest challenges right now.
From all of you. This question? Yep. The ones that I would have on there, all of them. That's why I put this list together. Yeah, those of you online, we're coming at you. So, yeah, that's right. I do keep adding to the list. So I think, let's see, capitalization is always critical. So Scholastica, we need $7 million at this point. And that was planned on being 3 and it's shot up. And so you have to figure out how to do that. We're thankfully have a historical building so we can get some access to historical tax credits. I think that's going to solve it. We've got up to 55% on some of the expenses there for the residence hall that will be created into 43 condos. And so you try to figure it out. The other one is I'm thinking about hiring 10 people who have various skills instead of subcontracting some of this out, that we bring in people and hire them for a year and that they would basically just work for us. And they do drywall, they do window installation, they do flooring, they do painting, all those things that if we can have some skilled employees. So I'm on the hunt for those people. Brad and I are kicking around another business that my background, one of the things I've done is create condominiums out of different units. So I've had that happen with retail. I've had a 30,000 square feet where we had 7 units in it, and I created business condos out of that because condominium is just a form of ownership. It's not something that you have to live in. And so that has always proved to be a successful thing, but we're really interested in something called tokenization with the cryptocurrency. And one of the people that we're going to have speaking deals with tokenization. So Brad and I are kicking around something to deal with that. So it becomes lack of knowledge that it could be too much in front of the curve, as Ian was talking about, of the total wealth in the world that is focused on something called tokenization, which they did the first one in Aspen, Colorado. So it came out of here. Sorry about that. The only 134 million have been put into tokenization out of billions and billions and trillions of dollars that are available for that. So again, lack of knowledge and always trying to figure something out. So I appreciate you asking me. Yep, no problem. You guys online, you want to take a shot at this?
I was gonna say that a lot of what we do, we just work with a lot of different people. I think maybe the cultural differences are a big thing with us, just like learning about people and giving them what they need to be successful. While it's very enriching, can also be challenging. Right now I'm helping a client who does not own a computer and we have to make them a pitch deck. And it's been a little bit of a communication challenge because they're older and they don't have that technology. And so it's been difficult, but definitely just like working with customers and cultural differences like that, I think are a big thing for us.
Excellent. How about Brad too? Are you still on?
Brad too?
Oh, I don't know. I don't really have any plans towards starting a business anytime soon. So I'm kind of just lack of knowledge and lack of focus, I guess. Okay, very good. Like a lot of information up front now, I guess.
Who's the last person? I think it's him on two, one for video, one for audio. Okay, so the number 972. Anybody out there? Okay. very good.
That's me. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. We're just trying to figure this out. So all good. So guess what? It's break time. So let's take 10, 15 minutes. And Brad, do you want to give a tour? So let's do 5 minutes, restrooms, that kind of thing. And in 5 or 6 minutes, let's meet down where Brad's going to be at, which will be down this hallway. And he'll give everyone a quick tour. So thank you for bringing the snacks.
Sure, Kevin, sure. You tricked me into pizza bread. I don't appreciate this.
So I want to talk a little bit about that book. Mark, do you know when these will be in? Okay. Is it better that we send you the email, or is it better we put them here at this campus and you come in and pick them up? Because most of you are in the area, so that way you'd have access to the book and you could take it over the weekend if we did something like that. So what do you think? Okay. Are you willing to come to the campus and grab a hold of them on Friday? And some of you are already here. Yeah. Okay. And I'm happy to come to Pueblo and bring them here. So we'll let you know one way or the other by email. Again, it takes about 30 to 40 minutes to do it. And I'd like to have everyone to get a chance to do it by next Tuesday night. So that would be great. So that's our first plan, though, is to have them available at this campus. And if you end up grabbing it Monday, as long as it's done by Tuesday, that'll be fine. So, okay. We want to take a switch and head for success. So success is something most people don't define exactly what it looks like in business. And I've got this little worksheet that I'd like to have you take a look at. And hopefully that's, I think we've got one online for the folks there too. So as it's getting passed around, just let me throw out what the details are. And then let's take a few minutes and work through this. Because again, a lot of people just don't define these things, and they're critical to define. So what's the purpose of the business? So some of you were talking about exactly what kind of business you would have, and it is totally critical to figure out what the purpose of the business is. Is it a product that is going to meet people's needs? Is it something that they're going to have fun with? Is it, what is the reason for that product? What does it solve? And the same thing with the service. What's the purpose there of the business? What's the purpose of my involvement with it? So here's one thing is the business, but for me specifically, what's my purpose in this? And what am I trying to accomplish as a result of this? What is success to me? How would you define success for you personally? Is it becoming a millionaire? Is it becoming just meeting people's needs, which is absolutely valuable? What is success for you? And then what is success for the business? Is it different than what that is? Or how do you define what success would be like? What's the current trajectory? Is it something you're just starting out with and you've got a long ways to go, or we're well on our way, but we need to deal with marketing, or we need to hire staff, or where are you in what you would perceive as a trajectory for getting the thing launched? You need to find more capital. What is it that is necessary in there? What needs to happen for success? And what adjustments need to be made? So again, thinking about the landmines that are out there, what do we need to do for success to make that happen? And what adjustments? Do we need to change staff out? Do we need to make sure that we've got accounting covered? Do we need to get a tax consultant or ask an attorney about the LLC? Or what is it that we need to go have a conversation with our partner? Because there's minor things that are coming up and we're not dealing with those, and they can turn into major things. So what adjustments need to be made, and how do I leverage my strengths to get us there? And next week, again, we'll be focused on your strengths. And so as you know them now, let's see if they change. So I'd like, again, to take not a lot of time with this, and it's something that, again, this is just to get you thinking about it, because we can't focus on everything in this short period of time. But fill out as many as you can, and then we are going to go around the room, and you can pick one or two of these and focus on as far as a conversation with the group is the plan. So any thoughts, comments? Okay, go ahead and have at it. Let's plan 5 minutes. If you don't currently have a business, think of one that you might like and go with that. How are we doing? Good. Okay. Lydia, I understand that you've joined and we're just acknowledging that you're there. So thank you.
Thank
So
you.
we are
Sorry, I
working
was
our way.
late.
I hear you. Go ahead. Say something.
Sorry, I'm late. I don't have any power here, so
Oh, really?
Um,
The storm came through and knocked out the power?
no. I just don't have any way to charge my phone except for sitting in my car.
Okay. Well, we're glad you joined and maybe you and I can catch up and I'll fill you in on what happened and then we can go from there for the rest of it. So,
That'd be great. Thanks.
okay, you're welcome. Okay, so we passed out the little sheet dealing with success, and I'm interested in having us again go around the room, and if you could focus on two of those things that we're dealing with. So again, I think they're available for people who are online as far as what the topics were. And Erica, I think we will start back with you, especially since you've got the mic right in front of you. So which two, and or at least go one and then the next one, and we'll go on around the room.
I'm going to answer what is the purpose of this business? The purpose of Dare Print and Sign Company is to provide quality custom graphic design and high quality print and sign products with expert marketing consulting for small and medium sized businesses and
Okay.
organizations.
And have you known that all along? That's nothing new that you came up with tonight. That's been your focus.
It has been my focus, but I haven't known it all along. I've been tweaking it and changing it as I've been, since I visualized the business last, like in 2019, through the opening, and every day I learn a little.
Yep.
And then the other is the what is the success for me personally in the business? I would say would be to get to a point where I could be teaching and working on the business instead of working in the business.
Right.
So.
Okay. Does everyone understand that distinction she's making? So working in the business will be the burnout. Working on the business is stepping outside. And then again, it gets back to the example I gave about the keys in the car or the keys in the house. You're building the house outside of yourself. You'll burn out. And if you just simply focus totally on the inside, plus you can never sell it. You're not creating wealth to do that. So, okay. Sydney.
I went ahead and answered what is success for me personally. This is kind of based on if I was to do if I was making art as a business sort of thing. And I said to express myself and to be seen, and just to have fun. I feel like most jobs, you don't really have fun. You're just doing a job. So I feel like that would be pretty successful if I found I was having fun while I was doing my job.
Absolutely.
And success for the business. For now, seeing how I don't feel like I'm quite fully knowledgeable of what a business actually looks like, I would say just to get something sustainable. I feel like that would be successful.
Okay, so through my many businesses I chose wholesale. I don't have a good reason why. It's what I thought of. So I did what is success for me personally and what is success for the business. For me personally, it would be something that can grow and prosper without me there. Kind of like what she said at the start. I feel like if I were to get sick and the business is to plummet, then it never had a good enough foundation to be called a truly successful business. And then what is success for the business? That one is more for me, but for the business itself is be able to evolve with time and demand change. Things are always going to change. It's great to have something that can last you a couple of years, but I really would think you'd want something that lasts you 20 years or for the future to come, and not something that's super short term. So that's for me personally.
Hello again. So I just talked about my little electronic store business that I might want to do. I'm going to answer what's the purpose of my involvement with it, and then what is success for the business. So I'd obviously want to help. I'd obviously want to help people with their electronics, and I would love to learn more about I would already hopefully have a lot of knowledge about how to fix electronics. But if some special cases come in, then I could learn about that topic and be able to fix it for them. And then, it'd be nice to make some money off my business and hopefully to teach people if I hire people, and I'll be able to share my knowledge of everything so that they hopefully won't need me all the time to help them help customers fix their electronics and stuff. And then success for my business, I think it would be really cool if it was a well-known business, like everyone knows it. Some place kind of like Best Buy or something, and just that it's the first and last place that they would need to go for their electronic needs and things like that. So,
Okay. A question before, well, not specifically for you, but just anybody. What happened to Radio Shack? Why didn't that prosper? What's that? Yeah. So for anybody out there. Yeah, what happened to Radio Shack? Why didn't they prosper? What mistakes did they make? And okay. Okay.
So now one of the biggest trends in the country for the last 10 years is makers being makers. So electronics kits, Arduinos, Raspberry Pi, robotics kits, drones, 3D printing. That should have been Radio Shacks. You should be able to go to a Radio Shack any town in the country and take classes in 3D printing and how to build your robotics kits. That's what they've done since they started. They lost a lot. And they started selling phone cases and $10 old junk cars. Like, totally just lost
The vision. Yep. Okay. Playing off from that. So go ahead. Yes.
All right. So the first question for me is, what is the purpose of the business? And I'm looking at that through the aspect of mainly my parents' company. I do end up, obviously, later in life, plan on running that company. But our main focus has always been to help people. And that comes in different aspects. That comes in giving people jobs. A lot of times we do have some of our family friends come up to us who are like, hey, just lost my job. Any chance I can join a crew? And even if it's not built into the budget for that estimate on that project, sometimes we'll throw it on there just so that they can, make some money that week to help feed their families. Another way that we help people is insurance jobs. So most of our income in a small town like this is insurance jobs. We had a hailstorm come through and hit some of Florence and then the small towns up on the hill. So that's Coal Creek, Rockville, and Williamsburg, if you're familiar with the area. When a huge hailstorm like that, huge hailstorm comes in and hits like that, the first thing that comes to you is stress. Okay. If you've never had to file a claim before, or do any of that, that's just stress on your shoulders. But we are actually insurance specialists. We almost kind of take control of it for you if that's what you want. That way you don't have to deal with that stress. We walk you step by step. Another thing is pro bono. My father is so my father and my mother both own the company. My father is on the job every single day. And he especially wants to do pro bono roofs to start out with. There was a cop, I'm not sure of his name, but a couple years ago he was shot. And actually we recently discovered that his roof is in bad shape. And we do plan on, we actually talked to Home Depot to see if they could buy the material for the roof. I mean, it's a corporation, it's a tax write-off for them. And then we supply the labor and do that. The next thing is, what is success for me personally? Knowledge, but not only having the knowledge, but being able to use the knowledge. It's one thing to know it, to know how to do it, but it's another thing to put it into motion and actually use that knowledge. So that's what success is to me.
Very good.
So the first one that I answered, it was what is success for the business? For me, for a restaurant, it would obviously be happy customers, happy staff. A lot of times in the restaurant, I see servers, busboys, cooks, whatever, just walk out in the middle of a shift because they're really just not happy. So, I mean, having happy staff would definitely be successful. And also that like the business would be able to run without me. I wouldn't need to be there every day. I wouldn't be the manager. I would just be there to help guide other people to success. And then the other one that I answered was what needs to happen for success. I need to gain more knowledge about being a business owner and how to take the right steps into getting my own restaurant and being successful at it.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the questions on here. I put on what is the purpose of my involvement with it. I think that's vision that I provide and then subject matter expertise in the region and in running the programs and consulting with all of our businesses.
So what is the purpose of the business? To provide a product that will allow a better understanding of how to interact with animals and to ultimately minimize the emotional toll of rehoming an animal. So that's the purpose of the business. What is success for the business? Creating something that's synonymous with pet care or quality pet care and becoming a household name. The concept of creating something and turning, as the example you provided earlier, that you would just simply turn the keys over to someone. For me, I guess it's kind of an old school way of thinking. I would like to have this business for years to come and to see it grow, and be a household name, kind of like General Electric or, Apple or what have you. So,
Yeah, cool.
Got a bunch of terrible answers here, so I'll just go with the first terrible answer. What is the purpose of the business? To grow other companies by giving them online tools to market their products or services, which is fairly broad. But I think one of the shifts that you're seeing in society right now is a lot of like solopreneurs and or just small online businesses. And when you do that, everybody knows that when you start something like that out, you are wearing all sorts of hats. But there's going to be a few hats that you just they're not even hats, they're like shoes or whatever. Like you just don't even know how to wear them or what to even do with them, right? So the idea is to productize services. So that way you can go on. So say if I'm terrible at social media, like we were talking about earlier, like don't even know who's managing your Facebook page or how to log on to your Facebook page, like you can go on there and buy a product, which is like a Facebook page manager for your business. And so it's like one of the ways I explained it while I was imagining it is like a marketing superstore, right? Like you can go buy the products you need to market, to plug into your company. So you can go use your superpowers, but you have these other superheroes on your team as well to fill the gaps. So anyway, that's where my head's at right now, but yeah.
Very good.
Those are great answers. And okay, so I'm going to use this business. So what is the purpose of the business? So the purpose of Emergent Campus is to help grow the local economy, and we're doing that with high quality commercial office space and mentoring for those businesses. What is the success of the business? So right now the building itself is probably worth $1 million, but a building is worth what someone will pay for it. So right now, could we get a buyer for $1 million? Probably not. The insurance value of the building is $7 million. Okay. So if we had the economy here, where we have businesses competing for the space, it would actually probably be worth $7 million, which would be amazing. But we didn't buy it because we wanted to make money on real estate. We bought it because we want to help local businesses grow. So a big win for me personally is getting to work with those businesses, getting to do marketing for them, perhaps even some good marketing. We've got so many amazing businesses here. Like when the drone business starts to grow, they've already asked for an advisory board of some of the more senior people to help them grow to the next level. Let's see. There's a business upstairs called GuestNav, and they're doing all the advertising on free Wi-Fi landing pages. So they've got like 450,000 hotel rooms across the country, the London Tube, Black Swan event last week. They were going to launch New York City subway, and what happened in New York? Hurricane. So I said, wow, what happened to your launch? And they said, oh yeah, as soon as they drain the water out of the New York City subway system and turn the Wi-Fi back on, we'll do our launch. So that wasn't something that they had planned for. And just personally, so I'm in my 50s now. So I'm going to read another quick little example. I got this text from a guy yesterday. He was in a completely different industry, did not have enough money to take care of his family and live in the Bay Area, and got him into a tech job. And he said, I wanted to let you know that I accepted a new role for director of product marketing at Fortinet, big security company, for their endpoint division. It will be nearly 9 years since you first hired me, and I went to work at improving my skills. I now make more than double the salary that you first hired me for. I've tried to give back by mentoring a few youngins, as well as get people on as interns. As I grow in this role, I hope to be able to hire people and continue to give people a chance who want to improve their own lives. Thank you for taking a chance on me. So I grew up in a family with not a lot of money, and just for me personally, making money is not important. Making money is great. It enables a lot of things, but if I don't use the skills that I have to give back in a meaningful and purposeful way, I get burnout. I have like an existential midlife crisis all the time. So that's a really important thing for me. So I can't wait. If I jump in my magic time machine and I see this 5 years from now, and I see all this place is filled with successful businesses. So we need like 20 more egg breakfast places on Main Street, right? And you see people coming in from high school who have an opportunity to intern, to learn something really super cool here and start a business and help their local community. That's success for me.
Very good. Thank you. Regarding that good marketing, I know a guy, so get a mirror. Since Logan put me on the spot before, I'm going to go ahead and be on the spot this time as well. And so purpose of my involvement, this would be for the Scholastica project, and that's the leadership issue of navigating through City Hall and through the Planning Commission. And it was one parcel when we got it. It's now 18 parcels, and then working through just the various people that would come on and buy certain segments of that. And as far as what success looks like for that effort, it's getting it finished. It's a bear, and it's got lots of complexity to it and lots of moving parts. And I am determined to get it to the finish line. And that particular property has had false starts about 5 or 6 times from what I'm hearing in the community. And so the goal is that no more false starts. This is going to get up and running and make this thing happen. And that's just part of determination, which I think is absolutely critical. So how about you folks online? You want to take a shot at any of these? And Lydia, it's okay if you take a pass coming in late on it. But anybody else want to take a shot at this? Brad, Lydia, or Megan, I don't know if you're still on. Okay. Hearing no one step forward, I will move on. One of the things I want to just briefly talk about is the type of business. So if you talk about biz organizations, which is part of, if you were going to get a business degree, you'd think about that. And I want to just do a little bit of explanation as far as, okay, I'm going to create a business, but what does that mean? What is it legally and what does it look like? And I'm going to take just a few minutes of doing that. So you have the opportunity of, with the law as it is you can be a business. And so you put out your name on the shingle, and I am Logan, well, not incorporated, you're just Logan, or you're Brad, or Mark, or whoever it is out there that you have that. And your social security number is that business. So it is you as a human being, and you can do that. You have no protection from a liability standpoint. If they sue you and you've got assets, your house is up for grabs, your automobile is up for grabs, everything you have is on the line for anything that you do. But that is possible to do that. I don't recommend it at all, that you would do that to yourself as far as a business thing, but that is a business organization, is you can be you. The other one, about 20 years ago, we had corporations, of course, and everyone had those, and they have 2 different kinds. There's the C Corp and there's the S Corp. and they have different complexities with them. Mostly it's about taxes. And so the C Corp pays tax itself. And so there's this concept of double dipping. So the corporation is going to pay tax, and then if it has profits, it distributes it to the stockholders, and they pay tax on that as well. So this thing called a C corporation, which is, it's like General Motors and those big companies out there, C Corp. That's what they file under. And a corporation, the government and the courts have basically viewed that as an individual. It's a law that some people would agree with and some people don't agree with, that a corporation is an individual. And again, most of the big companies, this is how they have themselves. The S corporation is for a limited amount of people. I think it's 62, something like that, as far as stockholders. And the big difference there is you don't get the double taxation. So the income, as far as the net revenue that is taxable, flows on down to the individual stockholders that would have that, and then they pay taxes on that, but you don't get the double dip. So that's another one, is the S corporation. And these were typically the way things were set up. So you had all the complexity of this, and they do have complexity. So you got to have annual meetings. You got to keep officers in the corporation, as those have to be elected. You have to keep minutes when you have those meetings, anytime that you have that. And so you have this formality of being a corporation. And if you don't keep up with that formality, a smart lawyer on the other side, when you get sued, they have something that's called piercing the corporate veil. And what that means is they punch through this and they get to you. And so now your house is still on the hook as far as the liability protection that you would get normally from a corporation, but they pierce that corporate veil, if you will, and get there. So this happens if you have a small corporation and you commingle funds. So I went to the grocery store and darn it, I forgot the cash and I don't have my personal ID. And so no one's going to care. I'm going to pay for my groceries this time using my corporate debit card because I own the corporation. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. And what you're doing there is commingling funds. And again, at that point, a smart attorney can again say, you're operating this, it's really you, and we're going to pierce the corporate veil. And now we can again get access to that. So what they did about 20 years ago, they started creating something called a limited liability company. And you hear people talk about it as an LLC. All kinds of companies now are set up under this. Every company I'm involved with as an LLC. And again, it stands for limited liability company. So what it is you don't have the formality of the corporation. So you're not going to have, an annual meeting. You're not going to elect officers. You're going to just have the members of the LLC. But you do have the liability protection of a corporation as opposed to a U. So now I'm going to create my roofing company, and it's going to be whatever X or roofing company, and it's going to be an LLC. And as long as I keep the checkbook separate and I don't use my corporate or my LLC debit card to buy groceries or to buy a car or to buy personal things, you basically have a wall set up. And so the only thing that a attorney can get on a lawsuit is the assets within that LLC. And so a lot of people will have multiple LLCs. We do that for some of the property stuff that we do. We'll have multiple LLCs, and if for some reason something happens with one of them, they can't get to the other one. So it's only the assets within that particular LLC. And so your house is protected, your personal goods are protected, your family is protected from the liability protection that is offered for the LLC. So again, without the formality, it's just the biggest thing is to keep it separate. So the business is one thing and my personal life is another. And so the attorney can't go in and say, this is just a fiction. You don't take your personal checks and put them in the LLC, and you create paper trails when you get paid from the LLC that you don't just go in and grab the cash like it's your cash. You write a check out, and the LLC does file a a tax document at the end of the year for the IRS, but it doesn't pay taxes itself. So you don't have the liability thing here. This can be, used to be that they had to have at least 2 members to be part of an LLC. They've made it so that you can have single member LLCs. So I can start my own LLC and I can be a sole member in that. That is okay. And you're getting a separate, not your social security number, but you go ahead and get an employment identification number, an EIN. You just go on irs.gov and you can grab that and instantly have 10 minutes later an EIN that the bank would allow for. You do have to put together an operating agreement for this because anytime you have a bank, the first thing they're going to ask for is the operating agreement. Even if you're a single member LLC, they need to do that. But you can have multiple members in the LLC. So, which was the original plan, that you would have people who want to join together and create an LLC, and they've got this separate business out there. And then the question is, do you have a manager-led LLC, which doesn't have to be an owner, or you have a member-led LLC? Those are things that you have to do. So creating these in the state of Colorado, it's $50. You can get online with the Secretary of State's office and create an LLC in 10 minutes easily and pay the $50 online, and you instantly have an LLC. Create an operating agreement for that LLC, which there are some that you can download. So if you don't have a lot of complexity, you can go out there and download the operating agreement. You can go in and take the operating agreement with what you just got and go ahead and get on irs.gov and get your EIN as well. You take that into a bank. You say, I've got a new LLC. I want to create a new bank account. You do that, and now run all your business through that LLC, keep your personal life separate from it, and you're giving yourself tremendous liability protection, even if you don't have insurance, which I highly recommend also as far as business insurance, but you're giving yourself liability protection so that just the, whatever goes wrong, just the assets of that LLC are up for grabs. It's not your house. You're not putting your family's house at risk at that point. So the other one that often people did in the past was DBA, doing business as, and so someone would go to a courthouse, and typically it was on the local level that you would do that. So I would go in as Phil Lund, and I would do doing business as whatever, something name. You don't put an LLC to it or anything else. Let's art studio or something like that, a name with it. That is just simply saying, I'm me, but I'm doing business as this, and you have to give notification by filing what's called a DBA, usually at the local courthouse, that you would do that. It doesn't offer any liability protection at all. It just gives you another name that you can operate under in doing so. If you have a partnership, which is 2 individuals, typically, again, a partnership now for tax purposes would be in an LLC. So you'd have a partnership. You're going to share the profits of that particular thing, and it doesn't need to be 50-50. It can be 75-25 or whatever arrangement you want to make, but you typically would do it in LLC. If it's just simply a partnership, you have the same issue here, and now they can get both houses of the partnership. So this is absolutely worth doing. And again, there's this whole area of law called business organizations and how you set things up. If you've got any complexity at all, it's worth getting an attorney to help you through that process. As I mentioned, the operating agreement earlier is 20% when things go right, 80% of things go wrong, and death happens or whatever it is that can take place. And how do you navigate through that? One person wants to buy out the other one. How do you do that? And those are things that you can put in an LLC. A little trick that I do when I create an LLC for someone, and I just do it as a friend. I'm not practicing law or anything like that. But I put in there that you can offer the other person to buy them out, but you have to be willing to sell for the same price as far as the ratio. So you're not going to offer them a low ball kind of thing, because they can turn around and say, I'm really not interested in selling, but I would like to buy you out for the same price, assuming you're 50-50. Otherwise, you'd use a ratio of 75-25 or whatever it is. That really, instead of going out and hiring somebody who's going to do an appraisal for the project, and they go through what are the assets, and it gets expensive to do that. You just put everyone on the same thing, that I'm willing to buy you out, but I'm also willing to be sold or to buy out at the same price, allow myself to be bought out. So it's just something that you can put that provision in a operating agreement, and it's tends to be a very useful thing. So the other last thing is a franchise. And just so you understand what a franchise is, franchise is I've got this business model that's working for me and somebody wants to duplicate it. And so I'm not selling them the business. I'm offering them a franchise, i.e. McDonald's, and there's all kinds of them that are out there. It's a successful business model. You're basically replicating that business, but there is a central business that owns the franchise, and you can own the usually when you go into McDonald's or Wendy's, for sure, you go in Wendy's and you'll see a sign that's usually on the wall owned by such and such, or often in hotels or the hotel chain, it's owned and managed by such and such, but they're also buying the trademark and, you know, all the intellectual property that goes with having something on a franchise. So just to throw that out for our knowledge. Any thoughts about that? Any questions about any of that stuff? So again, easily done. Yes, sir. A B? I'm not familiar with a B Corp. What do you know about it? What do you know?
A B Corp is not fully the same as each of these other corporations in the sense that it's a newer entity status that you can gain, and you're still a for-profit business, but you have a dedicated purpose in giving back or having some specific mission. So Patagonia may be a certified B Corp now, and they probably outline some specific climate.
Interesting.
So they can actually, if they actually get additional tax breaks, as part of that.
So each of these are by states. So every state has their own corporate laws, and some are more better for business than others. So it used to be Delaware for corporations was the place you wanted to file. So everyone was a Delaware corporation, no matter where you were on the planet, you could do that. Countries are doing that as well. So we were just at a lunch meeting today, and we were talking about this tokenization thing, and Malta, I think, was the country that is set up for some really good things for avoiding tax liabilities and things like that if you set it up in Malta. I know that Estonia has got it set up so you can become an Estonian citizen for business and get access to the EU without ever living there. So different states allow for that, but the thing you need to know is that this is all state law. So you can set up a Colorado corporation. Colorado may have a B corporation. I'm originally from Michigan and haven't paid attention all that much other than the LLC stuff for Colorado, and I just wasn't familiar with a B Corp. But I understand what you're saying is that that it has a mission. LLCs typically have a line in there. What is the purpose of the LLC? And the best thing to do is give yourself wide latitude and simply answer that anything that the LLC can do, that's what this is allowed for. If you get more narrow than that, in my opinion, you're limiting yourself. But it sounds like this B Corp, which I will be looking up yet tonight, has more definition that you need to give yourself.
Yeah, it says social enterprise refers to a business model. B Corp refers to a certification public benefit corporation. Public benefit corporation is a legal incorporation available only in certain states that allows organizations to identify a purpose beyond maximizing shareholder value.
Yep.
So as part of their corporate charter, they can give money away every year for specific benefits.
Cool. Yeah, and it did say in there only in certain states, so it's a matter of which ones those are and to try to figure that out. So I know that there's one that if you buy socks, there's a socks going to Africa and things like that, whether they're in there or not. So interesting. As I mentioned, and this is a prime example, I am a learner as well and will be all of my life. And so I'm happy that we raised something that I hadn't even heard of, and we can all learn from this. So let's see. The other thing that I want to deal with is, might let you out just a little early tonight, but I got two other handouts that I want to deal with. So we'll just take both of these. If we could pass them around, Erica. I need to keep one for myself. Thank you. So one of you, and I don't recall exactly which one, I think it might have been Erica, was talking about passion for the business. And once this gets around, I'll just talk about this. This is absolutely critical, in my view. So we're talking about business and entrepreneurship. There's nothing wrong with a job. I think all of us who have a certain age have all had jobs and learn a lot from those. I've had a fair amount of them in my time. And so this is talking about work, the first one. So right now we're looking at the single sheet one first. So I'm just going to quote it. It says, at work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. And then the question is, you strongly agree or you strongly disagree with that? And of those who answers that they disagree, not one of 1,000 surveyed was emotionally engaged in their job. And so the question of emotional engagement into entrepreneurship, into business, into a job, how important is that? Do you have that yourself? Have you seen other people that don't and they struggle mightily? I think one of you gave the example that, you know, a server walking out specifically during the day, I'm guessing they weren't emotionally engaged in their job at that point. So I'd just like just a little discussion, if I could, of what your life experience has been on this particular point or what you've observed from others. Because there's one thing I'd like us to learn before we walk out, and it includes me, is this is something that requires some passion for it to be successful, that you got to be emotionally engaged in it. You've got to like what you're doing. You're, especially with entrepreneurship, you get to create something that is specifically for you. And there's no sense creating something that you really don't like. So any thoughts on that? Your experience? What was it like when you didn't have emotional engagement yourself? Because we've all been there too. Yeah, we'll need that for the people online to hear you.
I was just going to say that I feel like without the emotional engagement, burnout is not almost certain, but it's going to be a lot more common, because if you're not engaged with what you're in, you're not going to be as passionate about overcoming the hardships and the challenges that could come with it. So I was just bringing it back to burnout, and one of those landmines. You have to make sure what you're doing is something you can do for a long time or you look forward to doing. It just makes the job easier overall, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to offer some thoughts on this one?
It's pretty good. I'm going to walk clear over here. It's okay. No, I just like in working in Double Under Wonder, a lot of what I do is writing copy, writing emails, stuff like that. And so I was just one day, I was noticing, like, I had sent out an email that I wrote and was like pretty excited about, and it totally flopped, right? It wasn't like it didn't get a lot of engagement or make a lot of sales, right? So, but however, the Facebook ads and stuff like that were running great. And it was like one of our best days that we'd had in a long time, like financially. And I was just like furious at my like position in the company. And I thought, like, how weird is that like it was just evidence that the money aspect wasn't what does it for me. I mean, obviously, if the money's not there, then you've got all kinds of problems. But that wasn't the whole. That wasn't the big picture. It was like, it's this. It's do you have the opportunity to do something that what you do best every day? Right. And so, I mean, I still had that opportunity. I just had a bad day, but those were that was really frustrating to me, even though, like on paper, everything was going great, so yep. I think that, you can have burnout and all of that, even if things are going fine on paper. It's just not. It's not sustainable if you're not able to be emotionally invested in it. So, yeah.
So I'm curious, from the marketer and the political consultant, how important is the person who's listening in the audience that you're trying to reach, that you engage them emotionally as opposed to just simply intellectually? Is that something that you should be concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, just, I guess, backing up a little bit, one thing that I've noticed, I mean, there's a stark difference in the passion that you find on a political campaign compared to your typical office space, because to what others have already mentioned, the passion, right? If you're working for a political campaign, regardless if it's a issue based or candidate based campaign, you're there, you're invested, you're emotionally invested. There's no need to talk about pay. If you're asked to stay later, you do it because you want to win, right? So it's night and day, but I totally understand, I mean, some people, how passionate can you be and how excited can you be about?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to take a jab at anybody's profession.
How do you get that messaging though out as far as from a marketing or just the candidates giving a speech, or you've got an issue that you're trying to define? Again, it seems like you got to touch somebody's emotions as opposed to just simply an intellectual argument.
Absolutely. So before it's weird to say, but you go through this like boot camp when you become a political organizer. And so part of that process is going through and refining your story, right? Because when you're working for a candidate, they have their policy positions, foreign policy, domestic policy, all that good stuff. But people are going to, gloss over as soon as you start talking about tax and, all that good stuff. So we were taught as organizers in order to engage people, to bring them into the fold, to get them to volunteer and be a part of what we were doing, we had to share our emotional story, what led us to be a part of this particular campaign. Because I didn't just work for any candidate. There was something that candidate, that politician did or spoke about that, was personal to me. And so my situation, my sister's passing is what propelled me into the world of politics. And so before I would jump into like, hey, let's talk about healthcare or education, I would explain why I was in that room, why I was out beating the doors for this candidate because of X, Y, or Z. And it was very much that emotional piece.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. Brad, do you have any thoughts from a marketing perspective? Since I know you're a good marketer.
Okay. Yeah. So I've done a lot of tech marketing for 30 years, and tech, this is a tech product. Okay. Who cares? There's a bajillion of them. But the things that our products do, or the way that our products helped other people achieve their like personal passions. So stories that I will always remember. We did a project with a company called Cherry Healthcare. They're in Michigan.
Yeah.
Their target client are people who are 20% below poverty level. So this is 220 doctors and healthcare practitioners. So they're clearly not in it for the money, right? A piece of software that we invented helped their people save 20 minutes a day on the computer, which doesn't sound like a lot. And if you just put our product helps you save 20 minutes a day on the computer, who cares? Turns out that their average visit time with a patient was 20 minutes. Okay. So we saved each of their employees 20 minutes a day. They were able to see one more client. That equaled 70,000 additional patient visits per year without hiring any additional staff, right? Bam, like mic drop. Nobody cares what the product name is, but now they associate our product with that emotional impact. That's the kind of thing that we can do for your business. How important is that? Nobody cares what the model number is or the features, or it's all about how are you going to advance my mission with your product. How old were you when you got into politics? 26. And how old when your sister passed away? How old was she? 19. Yeah. So that was a very super personal reason for you to make that life-changing career. Yep.
So that product for the
that,
Michigan company, you could have presented that in a boring way, but you hit the nerve as far as what their passion was in life, which is helping see patients. The more, the better. And so again, I would think you could have said something equally boring or this passion point that hit them right where their interests were.
Well, let me add one example on the opposite side. So I worked at a really big tech company, and they're a publicly traded company. So every quarter they have to get on with the financial analysts and tell how their business is doing. And if they're not moving forward, their stock goes down, right? So they were about a year late on delivering a key product, and it sucked, and they decided to push it out anyway, right? Because they're so late. So every quarter they're getting on the financial calls with Wall Street, and their product still isn't out, so their stock goes down. So they made the decision, we're going to release the product even though it's not ready, And one of the vice presidents said, Brad, your job is to market this pig, right? Make it sound good. And I said, no, actually, that's not my job at all. My job is to connect a customer to a valuable product or service through a channel, right? These customers buy from this company because they've been buying from me for 25 years, regardless of what company I go to. People will follow, oh, Brad just changed. Oh, I don't even know what that is, but let's go see what it is because Brad moved there, right? My job is not to lie about products. If you're in a company that does that and you feel like that's a superpower you have, quit immediately and go find a company that's doing something that you believe in, right? There was a talk I heard about a guy who developed pop-ups and sold this thing that would launch pop-ups on a website, which everyone hates. Then he developed a pop-up blocker and sold that millions of dollars of that to block the pop-ups because everybody hates pop-ups. Then he sold something to circumvent the pop-up blocker, right? I'm like, do not ever be that guy, ever. Use your superpowers for things that you believe in, because at the end of your career, you'll say, this was all good work, right? And you won't get burned out and you won't sell your soul to someone for $1. There's plenty of money that you can make doing valuable things that help people, that are purposeful, that you can be proud of. Don't sell your superpowers for a bag of magic beans.
So that last handout, thank you, Brad, that I handed out, we're not going to go through that because it's hitting some of the same stuff. So that's something you can read on your own. My last question, though, that I would like to go around the room is, given this issue of emotional engagement, you are sitting ready to hire someone for your business, and that someone is you. And so you are going to convince yourself that this is the right business, the one you're creating, that you need to be in. And what is the passion point that you would hit for yourself to convince yourself, I want to do this? So that what's your own tweak, if you will? And if we're willing to self-reveal that a bit, I'm just wondering again what that might look like. It's basically you're hiring yourself for this business that you're creating. And what are you going to tell that guy or that gal on the other side of the table, you, that gets them involved so that they are going to be emotionally engaged in this opportunity? So anybody want to start that off? Do you understand what I'm saying? Or do I need to repeat it again? You're interviewing for yourself and you're trying to get that emotional attachment that come to work for this business that I'm creating. And what is it that you would tell yourself that just seals the deal? That I've got to work for this company because I'm going to be totally engaged with that. So what would you tell yourself? You can think about it for a second. Yeah, Mark. Why don't we pass that mic to him so everyone online can hear?
One of the things I've struggled with in some other ventures has just been being the optimist in the sense of what if it works out, and asking yourself that every day rather than letting those other reasons for it not working out take up your mental space and energy.
Yeah, it's good. And this is, each one of these is unique to you. So that's Mark talking about Mark. What about the rest of you as far as what that would look like? So myself, I'll put myself on the spot. It would be making a difference. I have no interest at this point in my life of burning my whatever time I've got left on the earth for meaningless stuff. So it's got to be something that I think makes a difference. And, you know, the Scholastica project is going to do something for Canyon City. It's going to allow 43 families to have a place to be. There's some reasons there. And I've got some other things that I'm working on as well from an entrepreneurial time. But if it's not making a difference from my perspective, I have really no interest in it this time because I'm probably undoubtedly the oldest guy in the room. I used to start, I was telling the guys earlier, they were talking about being young and in here. I used to be that guy where I was the youngest guy in the room, and very quickly it turns to be that you're the oldest guy in the room. I don't know how it happens, but it does happen. But the ramp at the end is a lot shorter now than what it is when I started out. And so spending my precious time on something that doesn't make a difference, again, from Phil's definition of what that looks like, is not something I have any interest into at all. And much like Brad, the money doesn't, they could throw a lot of money at me, but if it's not making a difference, I have not much interest in it. So that, to me, I'd have to convince myself this is going to make a difference and this is where it's going to make a difference. That would be hitting my passion point. And I'd say, okay, I will consider this. I think I could do this. So somebody else. We won't go around the room and put you on the spot that way. I'll just pass that mic around.
Oh, wait, I thought we were just gonna pass it around.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway.
Let's stop with you, Logan. So you're on.
If I were to appeal to myself and give myself an interview, I would probably have to say I just really like helping people. I like the smiles that they get and stuff, and making anything easier for people that I can. That's what technology is for, making things a lot easier for people. And if I can, help someone, take like 20 minutes off of something so that they can, pursue something else. If they're just having a bad day with their technology or anything, and I just love helping people. So I just hope that I can work for your company, Mr. Logan Jennings. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm kind of thinking of this as I go, but mine would have to be honesty, because I feel like the more you look into things in this day and age, the more dishonest or the more they promote a thing that they're trying to do, but they don't tell you the real reason they're doing it. So I feel like the best way to win me personally over would be having something that you truly believe in and you're honest about, showing them the real reason you're doing it. I feel like that'd be the best way to win me over, or sell myself, hire myself,
This is a science fiction question, so there's a couple of you floating around. Anybody else?
So this is really just this sheet is pretty cool. So I think I would say self, if you do this, you will have the chance to do what you do best every day, and you will have the chance to give other people the opportunity to do what they do best every day. So like the whole structure of the business I'm imagining is giving people exactly this, is like you get to be I'm only going to hire the people that are the best at that thing, and that's where they get to live. And so and also self, you will get to have a lot of autonomy, and you won't ever have to do anything you think is stupid inside your company. So I'd say, man, that sounds great, self. And I'd probably give myself a job or take the job. Yeah, I'd give myself a big raise. And I'd be like, you're the best, man. And then,
And everybody's got an opportunity to do this for the specific self that we're talking about. So anybody else?
Yeah, I just got put on the spot here. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. No, he just handed me the mic. So now I have to say something to myself. Future self? Kind of past self? How does that work? So I would remind myself that working for the company that I'm putting together, we would be providing a service. A lot of people view their pets as family, and a lot of times, an unfortunate situation, those animals are removed from their homes and put into foster care or the local humane society or whatever it may be. And so working with my company, we would be providing your grandmother a service. If she has to go into a retirement home, her puppy that she's had for 10 years, she'll have peace of mind knowing that with QR Pets, her animal is going to be taken care of and given the best chance and the best opportunity possible to be rehomed and find their permanent forever home or their next permanent forever home. So, but yeah, a lot of it would have to be focused on what you guys are touching on. Like if I sat in an interview and someone was like, yeah, we're going to make a ton of money, man. Like just doing this thing, making this pointless product, like I'm going to check out. I'm not interested. But if it's purpose driven, just as you talked about, like if we could shave, 20 minutes off of how many times or the time between patients being seen, that would get me going. Providing family that just had a new child the opportunity or the peace of mind knowing that their cat is going to be rehomed and taken care of through this service. So
Very good. And again, I stress this is not a fiction. You can actually do this. So anybody else want to take a shot? Erica. Yeah.
I would tell myself that you get to work with small business owners every day and solve their problems and make their brands come to life for them. And you get to look at all of the really cute things that you've done all up and down Main Street. So,
Very cool.
Thanks. I would tell myself, if you take this job, you get to delve deep into self-reflection and finding yourself in a way and encouraging others to do the same.
Okay, very good. You'd hire yourself on that point. Yep. Ladies, you want to give it a shot? Last but not least, you don't have to. This is not a draft, but.
All right. So if I were to sit down and have an interview with myself and be hiring myself, I guess one of the main points that I would try to hit on is that in all of the restaurants that I've worked in, the management hasn't been great. But if I were to have my own restaurant, I would be able to pick the manager and be able to oversee that and make sure that my manager isn't causing burnouts on my servers or my cooks and causing those walkouts mid-shift. That'd probably be it.
Okay.
I don't necessarily know. Listening to everybody has really good points that I feel like almost any of us could use, in the right aspect. I guess mine would be, I would tell myself all of the ideas and plans and goals I have for this company, for our construction company, that is. And, I would probably end up telling myself to stop talking, so I would probably talk too much on it. But I think that would be my tweak there that you had said earlier, is that I would list off all of the minor plans and major plans that I have for this company, because there is a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
and their general
Thank you.
everyday business practices of how to help people with the insurance claims, that's the major benefit that a lot of companies don't.
Thank you. Well, yeah.
Those of you who have a few years on you, would your younger self give the same answer that your self did tonight? Yes? Mhm. Anybody else?
I would change one thing. I think I spent the first part of my career because I grew up with a single mom in the early 70s, and then another stepdad, not a lot of money. And I think the first part of my career was I let other people define success for me, right? Like society tells you what success looks like. It's this kind of car and you have this kind of house and your life looks like this. And then you get there and you're like, I still feel like shit. This doesn't have anything to do with success, right? What is really important to me, and not letting somebody else define that for you. You have to make a certain amount of money to be able to take care of yourself and to unlock, the things that you want to do. Money is very important to be able to do those kinds of things, but it's really, really important to figure out what does success mean to you, right? Why are you doing what you're doing, and what does success mean? And don't let anybody else's definition of success be yours.
I think about being you guys' age, which is like I'm at least 4 or 5 years older than you guys now, and but when I was your age, I was going to be the next Howard Stern. Wanted to be like this shock jock, like I wanted to be on radio. That was what I was going to do, right? And then I went to college and I got on the air, and I realized that I not only did I suck at being on the air, I also hated it. And so also, like, don't be afraid to like pivot and just like don't be afraid to go down a path and realize like, oh, this isn't good for me. And even though you thought it would be great for you, you thought like, this is the thing. And so I was able to pivot inside of that same industry and find something that I was really, really good at and that I loved. And it was just like 2 degrees off of what I thought I was going to do. And so, anyway, so just like, also don't be like, if I know people who, in high school are like, I'm going to be a lawyer. I'm going to law school. Right. And I'm hoping that, she's a lawyer, but if she hated that, I'm hoping she pivoted, so yeah.
Any last comments? One thing on the success sheet, if you notice at the top, and I didn't quote it, is the quote that is there. There's a thin line between success and failure. And I think anybody who has lived it all realizes that's true. You can think of examples. And that was interesting, that Ian, what you just said about pivoting, and it wasn't far off, but it totally made a difference. And so that thin line can be not very far off between success and failure. But I can guarantee that if this isn't part of what you're trying to do from an entrepreneurial standpoint, the emotional part of it, you will, that is a huge risk factor, and it's just not going to be any fun, and you won't be successful at it. And so again, when we talk about entrepreneurship, it's just not learning business principles. It's about something that in the core of you is, this is what I'm about, and this is what I'm trying to do. So you really do get a chance to interview yourself and to make a decision about what is it that I want to create and what do I want to bring to society, and to make a difference. So I would encourage you to do that. So the books are going to be available here at the campus, hopefully on Friday. If not, they'll be here on Monday. If everyone could do that. And if you get a chance to actually print off this document, send it to Office Depot or whatever you do. And these 2 documents, it will help you out substantially as far as going around. That's not going to be our total focus next time by any means, but it is going to be part of it. As I'd like to have people go around and talk about, okay, here's my 5 strengths, and this is why I think that it works. Because again, they've done a really good job. It's the Gallup organization, the Gallup polling people, to lay out some strengths that I think are very useful. So that's a wrap on the first evening. I appreciate all the participation that we've had here. And thanks for those who brought the snacks. And we will see you next Tuesday. If you have any questions, you can email Brad, Mark, or myself. We'll be happy to respond.